Welcome, Disc Jockey News. Mitch Taylor here, excited to bring to you another quick little hit, if you will, here in regards to prepping for your events. Now, there are different roles that you may have at an event. Many of you, if you haven't been living under a rock, many of you have maybe pivoted into doing ceremonies for your clients. And I find there are a few different things that you want to be sure you're doing when it comes to your wedding ceremonies if you are serving in that role as a minister for a client's event. Is that something you've seen in your area at all, Howie, or no? Or
there are quite a few DJs I know of that have gotten, that officiant certificate. And some of them actually save the day if something happens when the minister doesn't show up. So it's something I'm afraid to get because I'm afraid a bolt of lightning would come down and hit me.
So for me, that happened about 10 years, a little over 10 years ago now. I performed my very first ceremony for a military couple when they asked me, hey, would you be willing to do this for us? You know, you're well-spoken. We like you. You're already representing us on our wedding day as the master of ceremonies. So if you don't mind, and it's a military couple, what am I going to say? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, but I didn't want to go into it just from a standpoint of, okay, well, I guess send me this thing and I'll read this thing and that'll be it. Mm-hmm. You have to dig deeper than that. You have to go beyond just the script. And you have to get into the purpose of what you're doing, and specifically the history and the tradition and the meanings behind what you're doing, and then also how to do it.
And you're personalizing it too, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're personalizing it. So in our quick video here tonight, I want to give you just a few things, pointers, tips, if you will, that will help you make your ceremonies better if you're performing them as a minister, or if you're coordinating them. You're showing up to run the ceremony for the music, right? And the microphones. Mm-hmm. Maybe you have to be the coordinator. Maybe it's in the parents' backyard, or we had a lot of, tent weddings happen with outdoor gatherings being more popular over 2020. So that might be something you're dealing with. So let's talk about a few of those things and ways to help you. So first off is going to be layout. Layout is crucial to a successful event. As you know, if you think about the DJ and the dance floor and the head table, if you think about a wedding reception, everything happens in one of two places. It happens either the head table or the dance floor. So you want those two places as centrally located as possible so everyone can see it, right? Ceremony is no different. So how do you lay out a ceremony for proper flow? Well, let's look at this. I always ask at a rehearsal, after I get everyone staged, and I normally will stage the bride and groom up where they're going to be standing, and of course the maid of honor and best man next to them, and the bridesmaids and groomsmen flanking out from them, right? Parents will be seated, the bride in the front row of her, the groom's parents in the front row of him, typically is how you'd lay it out. And then I'll ask, okay, besides our bride and groom here today, who are the two most important people here tonight? And everyone will say, oh, it's the maid of honor and best man. Oh, it's mom and dad. Oh, it's you. No. The two most important people are your last bridesmaid and your last groomsman. Why? Because they set the edges. They set the marks. Mm-hmm. And think about it. There's one shot to get that right. Mm-hmm. When they walk in, the whole thing happens, it lays out and it flows. And if they're like this, then what are all the photos going to look like? Mm-hmm. That's etched in the mind forever. So they're the two most important. So we use theater terms in regards to setting a mark, staging. And I say, okay, look behind you. There's that fence post. Make sure you're on that third fence post away from where the bride and groom are. Okay, cool. Or look in front of you. There's the window, line of the window right there. That's your mark. Whatever that mark is, to put that visual in their head of where they're going to stand for that moment. So that's the first thing I would recommend is staging and layout. Another part of the layout that you want to look at is specifically how it's set up. If you had that kind of layout, you as a minister would go through an introduction, which is like a welcome, right? You would probably go through a charge to the couple, which is like your sermon if you were in church. You may have a reading or not at that point. And then after the reading, the bride's going to pass off her bouquet to her maid of honor. She's going to turn and face her soon-to-be husband. They'll hold hands, and you have your vows. Now, at that part of the sales meeting or planning meeting, whatever I'm in at that point in time, I'll say to the bride, okay, that's how every single wedding ceremony is laid out in the United States. Mm-hmm. What's wrong with this layout? And she's like, what's wrong? I don't know. What do you mean what's wrong? That's how it's always done. Okay. At that point in time, you're facing your husband, right? Yes. What's your mom seeing? Well, if mom's seated in the front row, she's seeing her daughter's back, right? Mm-hmm. So our recommendation as event planners of people that have planned and produced hundreds of ceremonies over the years is to flip your front rows. Put the groom's parents where the bride's parents would traditionally sit. Put the bride's parents where the groom's parents would traditionally sit. Now they get to see their son or daughter as their children speak their vows to each other. Mm-hmm. It's much more meaningful and enjoyable for the parents at that point in time versus they get to see a back. They get to see their faces. Mm-hmm. So that's the other thing in regards to the planning and staging and layout. And then I want you to dig deeper and think about you're the person in control of those memories. You're the person charged with making sure that ceremony goes off exactly how it should. So another quick tip is after your introduction, whatever you say, don't forget, please do not forget to tell your guests to be seated. I had a wedding once and this is God's the honest truth. Me and my assistant and I should say, were up on the knoll and they asked the groom's friend to be the minister. He seemed okay at rehearsal. Introduction, guests are still standing. After his charge of the couple, guests are still standing. Going into the reading, guests are still standing. And here's my assistant and I doing this. Because, guests are looking at him, right? He's looking out towards us, right? We're up on the knoll. We're doing this. And he looks up and he says, sit down, sit. Oh my God, I'm an idiot. Sit down. He says.
Oh, no.
Dude.
Wow.
Trying to help you out. So that one may not have gone as well, even though our heart was in the right place, right? Mm-hmm. However, again, make sure you tell people to be seated. Another quick little thing is to whisper to the bride to pass off her bouquet before she goes into vows. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they'll forget that. And then the other thing is during the kiss. I gave this to Mike Walter years ago. He still comments about it. During the kiss, don't just stand there. Get out of the way. A quick sidestep is all you have to do. Mm-hmm. I now pronounce to you, Mr. You may kiss your bride. Boom, and get out.
Photo ops are everything.
It's a quick little thing, and they don't need all those photos later on.
With you in it.
With you in it. I mean, you may be their best friend. That's okay. You're still not the guy they want on the mantle. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
And so finally, as I wrap this part up here for you with tips in regards to performing ceremonies and planning ceremonies and helping to coordinate ceremonies, you need 3 things to walk down an aisle. Do not start your ceremony if you don't have these 3 things taken care of. Number 1, make sure that someone has the rings. Someone's got to have rings, okay? Number 2, make sure that your mic which we use lavalier mics here at my company. Make sure your mic and the groom's mic, we use 2 lav mics. Your mic and the groom mic are both turned on at the body pack and ready to go. And number 3, don't you dare ever start a ceremony without knowing if the bride is ready to walk down that aisle. Because there's nothing worse than the awkward, is she coming? You know what I mean? You don't want that. Bad idea. So you don't send everyone else down without knowing for sure that she is ready to go and be married that day. So just some quick tips, Mitch Taylor, Disc Jockey News, on ways to make your ceremonies better from both the planning, the production, and the performance side of it. Thanks for watching.